Hey there everybody, my name is Bree and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'll be doing a bit of an analysis today for the trailer 3 of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that just came out a little while ago. My reaction is on my YouTube page if you want to watch it, and I'm not going to have video for this one because it's a lot harder to do video for these, you know. So we're just doing voiceover. I have some notes and I'm just gonna kind of scrub through the trailer and we'll talk about it. So we start on the sky, the beautiful sky of Hyrule. We then see a construct and a choo-choo on top of one of the sky islands. They are fighting. This seems to confirm that the constructs, or at least the lower level of them, are not inherently like evil. They're not taken over like Guardians and the monsters are. They're not taken over by malice, but they're just there to protect and tend to the islands and keep them safe. And that's why sometimes we may have to fight them or we may train with them. So that's pretty cool. Now we see Link as he skydives towards the surface near the Sky Islands. He passes the platform that we've seen in multiple trailers now. We've also seen Zelda on this platform. More about that later. And as he falls, you can see that there are holes of malice in multiple places across the surface of Hyrule. Are these going to be portals to the underground? When Link lands, you can hear the Breath of the Wild theme in the main part of the piano. And it's pretty cool. I didn't notice the first time, but I heard it the second time when I rewatched it. I was like, yo, there it is. It's gotten a bit of a makeover. There are mushrooms on a lot of different things. There's multiple different sizes, shapes of different mushrooms, like different structures with mushroom designs on them. People have speculated that maybe there is some kind of festival, some kind of mushroom festival. And I'm excited to find out what's up with the mushrooms. That'll be really exciting. Next, we jump to Central Square in front of Hyrule Castle, where things still look a little messed up. There's definitely still ruins and like broken buildings and things, and the fountain is definitely a little busted. But there are some tents now set up. They have the Hylian crest on them, and Link walks through slowly through all these tents here. And I think that this is a sign that we are probably going to see Hyrule being rebuilt a little bit. I think we'll see some more people, and I think we'll see some more, maybe even temporary housing, but even permanent housing. Maybe we get to build some. How exciting is that we get to see Hyrule after all this stuff that happened, the 100 years of calamity. We finally get to rebuild a little. And then Ganon comes back to ruin it, huh? Next we see a shot of Link climbing high above Kakariko Village, and we finally get a better look at this like donut-shaped thing on top of the rocks there. It kind of looks like a platform, like a sky island, and it seems to be one that's in disrepair. It's falling apart, but it was a platform in the sky at one point, and it seems to have fallen. There's also multiple rocks in the background that are just smaller versions of that same type of rock scattered throughout the village. And we can also see some scaffolding in places that were never there before. They must be trying to either handle these rocks or at least like get to them, you know, to see what's going on. Just try to fix the situation so that they don't fall on the village at all. Next, we see a zoom shot in the Typhlo ruins up to where Link is at, running out near the entrance of it. It seems like in the last trailer and in this trailer that the Typhlo ruins is not dark anymore. Has the magic that kept it dark been lifted somehow? That spot is connected to the Zonai, so we probably will get more based on this location alone. This will probably be something important here as well. But as we zoom out, we see that Link is running towards the Hebra area, and you can see a giant storm in the sky. It's like a huge cyclone. More on that later. I've also seen theory on Reddit that says as when Link is running through those two statues at the entrance, if you look to the one on the left on top of it, there seems to be a tree stump on top, like the ones that you would stand on in Breath of the Wild to fly to another place to get, or run to another place, depending on which one you're doing, get to another place to get a Korok seed. Are Korok seeds actually going to be in this game still? We see the sand in the Gerudo Desert start to rumble, and then something ascends up from the sand. It's a very large building. It seems like it could be a dungeon. I think that we will have actual large dungeons in this game. It just seems to be likely. They waited till the last trailer to show it, but I think we will have maybe even 7, like, to go along with the 7 tiers. 7 dungeons. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh, wishful thinking. Down towards one of the front gates of Hyrule Castle, where we see that everything is shaking, it's dark, and there are these stones falling. The stones we've seen Link use to ascend into the sky, there's a lot of them. They're all falling at once down around the castle. And then we go to the next shot where we can see that the castle is fully floating above the ground with all the malice coming out. And the stones are falling, even more of them, falling around the area away from the castle, like central Hyrule. There are some people in the foreground that look to be dressed the same way that the researchers do from Breath of the Wild. They look scared. You can see by their stance, they're freaked out by what's happening. Everything is so dark. So are they up there to observe, or were they doing something else up here? Very interesting. This is my favorite part of the trailer. Well, one of them. Anyway, we see a figure with flowing red hair, like malice, just flowing in the wind. The figure is wearing like a really dark, detailed robe. And then we see it turn towards us, but it cuts before we can see the face, right? And there's also like a big orb, like it looks like an orb, like a half a circle or something of malice in front of this being. Now, people have speculated that this is Demise. I understand why. I can see why. It's the hair, the flowing hair, you know. But I don't think this is Demise. I think that this is just another form Ganon takes. It's either before he becomes the normal-looking Ganon, or it's a form he takes during, like, a blood moon, or when he's more powered up, or with the tear that he's got on his forehead, and he's just able to use this to have, like, a powered-up version, you know, because he had multiple versions in the last game. Of course, he's going to have multiple versions in this game, too. I can see why people thought that that was probably Demise. I can see, you know, the comparison, you know, but I do think it's just an homage to Demise within Ganon's character design. I don't think this is Demise at all, but it is really interesting, and I do think that they played into that a lot by cutting right before you see their face. I think they knew that fans are getting a little ravenous, and I think they just wanted us to theorize about something. They wanted us to have something to focus on for the last few weeks because everyone's getting a little stir crazy. We see some repeat footage that we have seen a couple times before, except now it's all together, like, in the right order. So after they find Ganon, we see Zelda falling, and Link reaches towards her with his hurt arm. His arm is already hurt by malice at this point. He reaches for her. Even though he's injured, he is so bound by his oath to protect her that he doesn't even care if he hurts himself more. He just wants to reach for her. He wants to stop her from falling, but unfortunately it's too late for that. She does fall, and this time we can see, it's an extended clip this time, so we can see that there is actually a yellow glow as she falls further and further down with the rubble. There's a yellow glow. And people have been theorizing about what this could be, and I think that maybe it's either her own power saving her, or she's being pulled back in time by whatever group that she's with right now, if that's the Zonai or not. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see all these clips together in the right order now in the trailer. See a shot of the Gerudo Desert where 10 large sinkholes open up in the sand. And I saw a map online that showed where some of these clips that we've been seeing from all these trailers are located. And that said that this took place in the East Barrens, which is pretty close to the labyrinth there in the desert. Not sure what these could be. It could be that there was something underground that came up, and that's what displaced all of this sand that's causing the holes now. Or there could be something that's still down there that we have to go to. Do we have to jump into these holes and see where they lead? I'm very excited to find out what's going on with the sinkholes. Underground is confirmed, my friends. We finally got like a longer clip of a big cavern, like an underground cavern. There's lava flowing from the ceiling, so that means it's definitely underground. It may be near Death Mountain, somewhere near Goron City. But in the background, you can see there's like stone rubble and stuff. There's also some mine carts in the distance, which is usually around the lava stuff as well, it seems like. But also the architecture of the like the wall in the background looks very similar to the Forgotten Temple to me. It might be Zonai. So that's something to keep an eye out for when we play the game. Another cool shot that got me pretty hyped. So we see Link standing on a flat platform. He's as high up as he can get, it seems like. There's nothing else in the background. And there is a giant flying ship over top of him that's like in the air. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't even notice the first time or second time that I watched it. I didn't see until I saw the subreddit that there are multiple other ships in the background. They look to be similar, but not exactly the same. And we're not even sure really who these are from, but people are guessing based on the fact that the ship itself has similar markings to the way the Rito construction is in the village there. And also it's a bird mast on the front of the ship, that these could be Rito. I mean, they already fly, so I don't know why they would need flying ships, but that's beyond me. I don't need to ask those kind of questions. If they want flying ships, even though they have wings, that's their business, not mine. This is another one that really got me hyped. So we see Link jump into a sphere of water, and then he floats inside of it for a little while. So there's like a small cylindrical type object. It looks to be Zonai. It's very similar to the other green things that we've seen that he's used to build the different machines. And when he jumps into the water, his animation changes into a water treading animation. Now, it's just speculation, but it seems to be that they have a treading animation that might be used in the actual water, like if you go underwater. It exists, so that's at least a good sign that that animation exists. It could be that this isn't the only place that you'll be fully engulfed in water. That would be really cool. Another thing about this clip is the architecture. So we've seen a lot of the Sky Islands, and the way that they look is very minimal. You know, it's all pretty much gray rock, and it's pretty sleek, you know? But this one here looks totally different. The architecture is very different. So there's green glowing parts to it. It's a darker color. The other one's like a light gray. Most of the other Sky Islands are a light gray. This one is like a really dark blue gray, and it's got the light, and there's lots of carvings. There's all sorts of intricate carvings. So it just definitely seems to be different. It kind of reminds me of the stuff we see in Zora's domain, but out of a different material. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Zonai or something else, but it is interesting nonetheless. See Link diving down through a long tunnel made of what looks like just regular stone, like it was carved in, and then there's some like artificial, like man-made architecture. May not be a man, but you know what I mean. It's made by not nature. And there's lots of lasers, and you can look all the way down to the end. As far as you can see, there are multiple layers of these lasers, like at least, I don't know, like 10. It's pretty long. And he's diving down like you can, how you can go faster when you're skydiving, how they showed that in the gameplay. He's doing that, but he is, you know, kind of having to swerve around to avoid the lasers. And at one point, he has a wingsuit on, and he pulls the wingsuit up, and he slows down a bit, and it's a little easier for him to maneuver. So I think they're just wanting to show off that new wingsuit. That's something we haven't seen before this trailer, and that's really exciting. This one I had to do a little research because I had never heard of this before. So we see Link pushing a lever. It's one of the ones where you just have to push it around and it'll like turn something. And in the background, you can see there's like a hole in the wall, and then that part's moving around. And then in the foreground between Link and the hole, there is what people have been calling a pachinko machine. I had never heard of that. I had to look into it. It looks like kind of like a vending machine. Like there's a round thing. What's in there? Are they batteries? Or is it what controls? Can you do something with them? I'm like so curious about what this machine does. And they've been spotted in more than one place, more than just here. So I'm really curious to find out about those. But I think that this part of the trailer takes place inside that giant orb that we've been seeing floating in the sky. We see it, I believe we do see it again later in this trailer too, from the outside, but it's like moving around without anyone being inside turning the lever. So there's something weird about that, but I have a feeling we'll probably see this floating orb before, like really early in the game before anything like crazy takes place, you know. Here, Link is gliding. He's very high up off the ground, and he's gliding between two walls. On one side, you can see the light sandy color of one of the Zonai labyrinths. We're not sure which one, but the one that's the tallest seemed to be the one that's by the one of the research labs. So it could be that one. But also, the one in the desert is pretty tall too. And then the inside wall is different. It's darker. I'm not sure what the difference is, but there's something about that. It's weird to me. These labyrinths have risen up into the sky now, so I'm curious how we're actually even going to get up there to begin with. The shot is pretty cool. So we see a small battle going on between Hylians and monsters right outside the gate of Fort Hateno, and Link is on his horse. He's riding by, and he's spinning what looks like it's either a long sword or a short spear, but he's spinning it, doing the spinning animation. Now, I'm pretty sure that was something that was in Breath of the Wild, but it didn't damage anybody. Like, it didn't do damage. It was just cool to look at. It was just like an animation. I think in this game they might make it so that it actually does damage so that you can hurt people with it. But another cool thing about it is that the sword that he's holding looks to be a Zonai part. So you know how we're going to be getting parts from these enemies when they die that we can fuse to our weapons? We've seen that with the horns from the Bokos, or the Bokoblins, not the Boko Kings, the Bokoblins, and I think that probably the Lynels will be dropping their horns as well. But we've seen those kind of things from the constructs, and I think that the sword that he had was actually a horn from a larger construct. It's the same colors, it's the orange and the green, but it's not one we've seen it's not from a small construct like the ones we've seen. It looks like it's probably from a bigger one. So I'm interested to see how many different kinds of constructs we actually even have. I also thought it was super interesting to see the citizens finally fighting back. Like, Breath of the Wild felt so lonely, and there's hardly anyone there. Most of them seem to be very, very scared of any conflict. And it's just really nice now that they've had a little peace. They've decided they need to shore up and learn how to fight, even if they don't know that they can. They're using pot lids, they're using buckets and frying pans as helmets. You know, they're doing what they can. And that's awesome to see them fighting for their home. We see Link ascend up quickly towards where the quote-unquote camera would be, towards us, the viewer watching. It's very similar to the type of elevator that you would get on in Breath of the Wild when you were going into a shrine, the really long one that brings you down or up. And I think that even though the Sheikah technology is gone, we'll still see some places that have some that has been repurposed by either the Yiga clan or by the remaining people that were part of the Sheikah, which is like Kakariko Village, you know, or the researchers or any of those people. I do think that I'm leaning more towards the nicer ones, not the Yiga. I know people have said that they think it's Yiga, but I really don't think that that's the case. This is the part of the trailer that shocked me the most. I literally gasped when it came on screen because I wasn't expecting it. I have avoided all of the art leaks, so I'm a little behind on some of the people that have seen that. But I have seen I saw someone mention a name, so I know a name now, but, you know, I try to avoid everything I can on the subreddit. But I do think this is the mysterious figure that we have seen in the murals. And he has a similar necklace, and the things on the bottom of his hair just really look Zonai to me, so I think he could be a Zonai. I do want to quickly point out something that I saw on the Reddit, though. I saw a theory about the way this person looks. So you can see that they have looks like a closed third eye on their forehead. It kind of looks like it's just like a tiara or something that was like kind of placed on their forehead, but it could be actually part of the physiology of this person. We're not really sure yet. But below this eye that has the 3 eyelashes, very similar to the Sheikah eye, right? And then the nose has what looks like a teardrop shape, and then around the eyes also are these markings that look very similar to the paint we've seen on some of the people that are dressed in the Zonai outfit, like Zelda and the other person that we're going to talk about a little bit later. We're going to come back into this theory a little bit more in just a few minutes. So a quick clip of Link doing like a kind of like a wheelie, but like on a horse, you know, when they put their legs up in the air or whatever, their front legs. It's not really anything important in that scene, so I'm just gonna breeze past that one, but wanted to mention that it is there so that you guys know I did go over every single clip in this trailer. We see some type of Zonai machine. It looks very large. It's like in the wall, and it starts to like come alive and like pull itself together to exit the wall and come out to fight. I'm assuming this is similar to the other Zonai machine that we've seen, which is like made out of blocks. It's probably on the tutorial island. It's very similar to that, where it's probably going to be some kind of mini boss battle that you have to do, but I'm not sure what you're going to get for doing it, so I guess we'll see there. Here we see a very confused Link looking around the room, and he's actually inside of the sanctum. The thing is the sanctum does not look like that anymore. It's been destroyed. We did the final boss battle with Ganon there, and it's now risen up into the sky, which caused even more damage to the castle, I'm sure. So what could this mean? How could he be there? How can he be in this place that is not in pristine condition anymore? Is he in the past? Is he in a memory? You can see at the bottom of the screen there's a lot of little like glowing like yellow orb lights, and I'm assuming that whatever brought him to here, obviously it's not the real world, but whatever brought him to here is probably some kind of magic or something. A few shots of the trailer I left together because they go together along with the voice lines, so I didn't want to separate them into the separate shots, but I figured they would go better together. So we see Zelda. She's standing in front of some kind of structure. You can see like movement. There's these big like circles on the wall, and it looks to be Zonai based on the lights, those weird little like white lights that have like kind of look like dragon scales, you know? And a man that we don't actually know, we don't ever see his face. He says that Link is their last line of defense, and that they rely on him and the legendary sword that he carries. And during that part, we see Link grabbing the Master Sword with his right hand, which is not damaged yet, which means this must happen, him grabbing the sword. He probably put the sword to rest after Breath of the Wild and only came back for it when they were going to try to find Ganon. So, that man, I really think that man is the mysterious figure I talked about a few minutes ago. The person that may be Zonai or maybe a dragon person or whatever, the one that has the Sheikah eye on its face. I do believe this is the same man just based on the outfit and the hand. His hand looks just like the arm that Link ends up getting in Tears of the Kingdom, his new arm. It has the same like symbols on it in gold, and I also think that this person doesn't exist in the present. I think he's only in the past with Zelda. So he also has a tear on the back of his right hand that you see on Zelda's shoulder. I'm not sure which tear it is because it's not in its active state. It's not glowing any kind of color, but he does have one, which means this is a very powerful person. And then after he puts his hand on her shoulder, she realizes, oh, Link. She's worried about him. You can tell in the tone of her voice she's worried about him. And I really want to know who this man is. I want to know who he is, and I want to know what he has to do with the tears, because Zelda has one as well in this part where she's at. So it's on her necklace. So I'm really, really curious about this guy. This is my favorite thing to theorize about because he's so interesting. See another shot of repeat footage of Link being up high in the sky on top of this giant stone bird that he's like flying on, like standing on while it glides. I'm not going to show it here again because it's another one that's like kind of not consequential. It doesn't really have much new information in it. And also I wanted to mention that there is some new things coming out, like they released a commercial in Japan or something like that with some new images, and one of them is him, an extended version of this clip where he's jumping off and diving down. But it's not substantial enough for me to want to show it and like discuss it. So I just wanted to mention it quickly that that's there. I really want you to know I did look at everything, okay? I'm not skipping nothing. I might mention something that I'm not going to show, but I'm not skipping it, promise. We see Link fighting two constructs at once, and he has a shield fused to his sword. So my question about that is, do you have to hit the block button, like the shield button? Do you have to hit the attack button? Or do you just have to stand there and hold the sword, and it will just block for you? I'm very curious about this mechanic in the game and how that will translate over. Here we see a quick shot of Link gliding over top of that floating orb in the sky I mentioned earlier. It's just a quick shot, nothing special, but you can see like the hole of the wall that we had seen before. And also if you look in the background, he is actually near some of the sky islands that are in the sky here in this area. And there are large pools of, it looks like the brown tar from Breath of the Wild. Like literally all the way coming from all the way up in the sky, dripping down and then into a massive puddle on the ground. I wonder if this is related to that monster we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. A quick shot of the underground where Link is side hopping away from a very, very fast enemy. It looks like some type of enemy that like rolls up itself in a ball, kind of like the Gorons do, and then goes like really fast and it ends up hitting the wall. But if you pause it, you can see that it is actually got cheetah spots. It's like cheetah spots on it. So is this a new enemy? I thought the first time I watched it that it might be Yunobo, since we never saw him like we did the other ones. We never saw him fighting with them. So I thought maybe that was him and they're training him. But once I saw that it had cheetah spots, I don't think that's going to be him. It could be, but I'm leaning towards probably not. I also noticed while just editing the clip that I wanted to put into my video that it also has a chain around it. Not just the cheetah spots, but it has a literal chain around it, and then it has like a, kind of like a footprint looking type thing. It's like three-pronged. It kind of looks like a dinosaur footprint or something. Really not sure about this one. The Link and Tulin, Tiba's son from Breath of the Wild, a little bit grown up now. We see them jump on a stretched out like canvas type thing, like a sheet that's stretched out to make it a trampoline. It's got the same Rito design that some of those ships that we saw earlier, the flying ships, had. And also in the background, there is one of those ships. So I am definitely assuming now that I've looked further into it than I did earlier, that it is for sure those ships are Rito. Even though they already fly, they have flying ships as well. Make it make sense? Who cares? Another cool thing about this clip here is that we can see that he's wearing the Rito armor from Breath of the Wild. It looks a little bit different. It seems like he might have something on the shoulders now, like shoulder cuffs or something. But yeah, it's a little bit upgraded. Maybe we can fly. Maybe it'll make it so that we can fly or we can jump higher with it. Because that's pretty cool that we get to see that one again. In this clip, we see Link on his horse with a carriage that he fused together full of townspeople. And he's pulling them somewhere in, I think, near like Dueling Peaks area or something like that. It looks similar. And I thought it was really cool to see that he could attach his horse to something too. Also, all I could think of was Skyrim, because it's like how you wake up, how you start the game. It's pretty funny. Here we see Link in combat with a rock Octorok, where it shoots one of the flaming rocks at him, and he uses the recall feature to freeze it and send it flying right back to where the Octorok is, and it kills it. That's the first time we have seen the recall in action during combat, and that was pretty cool. Another cool thing here is at the end of the clip you can see, just before it goes to the next clip, that there is some kind of mine or like entrance to a cave in the background, and it seems to be blocked by something, like some kind of rock or something, and I bet you that is not the only time we will see one of these cave systems somewhere. I bet you there's more than one. The next clip shows Link with a Zonai rocket strapped and fused to his shield that he uses to basically just rocket upwards vertically next to a very vertical Boko camp. It seems like there is no other way to access this thing without either using the ascend feature or having a rocket like that to fly upwards. And this clip takes place, it looks like it takes place on Eventide Island. That is the consensus right now. And you can also see to the left on the beach that there is some type of tent. It looks like a Hylian tent. It looks similar. And maybe someone is trying to settle Eventide Island. We see Link jumping from a platform onto these small round platforms that seem to be kind of anti-gravity, because he's able to like moon jump with them. This is also where we see another one of those like different architectures that I mentioned before. And if you look at the bottom left, you can see a couple of orbs that have some type of electricity in them. They're moving around without Link being down there at all. I wonder if those are similar to the ones we've seen with the water. Is there going to be a fire one as well? We can also see some of the sludge that we've seen in some of the previous clips dripping down from the island that he's headed toward. It's not much. It's off to the side. It doesn't get in the way, but it's a little bit. And it seems like there might be a lot of different places like that where this sludge stuff is coming down onto Hyrule. Here's another cool one. We get to see some more underground stuff. We see a minecart battle. Link is in one cart, and a construct is in another cart, and as they're moving down, both of the carts were made with the fuse ability by Link, and as the mine carts go, they fight each other. It seems like there's some Zonai architecture, like there's some of those lights, those white lights, and there's a massive cavern behind them. It looks to be quite the big area with lots of lava, so I think there is going to be a lot of different spots underground, like probably a lot more than we even think. This one really cracked me up while I was watching this because it is too funny. So we see Link has created something. He has gotten 4 really long slabs of rock. He has pasted them together into like a rectangle, like cube shape, like a box. He then used the fuse ability to paste on some wheels to the bottom of it and a lever that he stands on the top of it to control it. And then on the side of it, all he has for the actual weapon is one tiny little arm. It's one tiny little arm with a little bit of electricity on the end, like so kind of like it's gonna like shock them if it hits them. But it just swings back and forth. There's like no range to it. It's just so funny to watch this little guy with this little arm going after a talus with a Boko encampment on top of it. And there's just no way. I don't even know if it's high enough up on the little robot that he built to even hit them. So I found that really freaking funny. Pretty cool shot too. So we see Link. It looks to be like he's somewhere in the Lanayru wetlands outside of Zora's domain, based on the water on the ground and the little pillar behind him. And you can see the donut from Kakariko as well. It's like really, really close. So he is on a very cool horse with like awesome armor. And he has a ruby fused to his arrow. And it glows like the fuse green teal color, like he's using the ability to fuse it. And then it glows a very fiery red, orange, lots of flames. And it's way stronger. It looks to be way stronger than like a normal fire arrow. Does this mean that all of the gems are going to have like a more of a use now except just selling? Are we going to have different gems with different abilities? Is Sapphire going to be ice? Topaz, electricity? The ruby is the fire, and then the diamond was ancient protection, like from the guardian attacks you took less damage. There's also a couple others as well that they could use, and what do you think they could mean? Another cool shot where Link aims his arrow precisely and quietly at a Boko camp. There is a Zonai machine at the center, and when he hits it, it sets off a bunch of lasers, 10 lasers to my count, in different directions that start spinning around and damaging all of the Bokos around in the camp. We also see a Boko here that has a weird type of backpack. He's got like a little backpack and it's got a few little things in it that are like glowing yellow. I wonder what those could be. I believe this shot is a continuation or at least related to another shot that we saw earlier of Link and Tulin. They were in the sky islands above Hebra. They were jumping on that trampoline-like thing. Now they're actually really close to that big storm that we saw over the Hebra region. And there is some kind of giant monster dragon thing coming out of the center of it. It seems to be an ice monster, and it tries to take a big bite of them. But I think obviously it misses probably. I mean, they don't want to kill this child, right? The developers are not going to kill this child in front of us, please. But I do think that it's weird that when it bites at them, after it bites at them and it misses, it goes to another shot of repeat footage we've seen from trailer number 2, where a bunch of the malice bombs come out of the sky and they are exploding and monsters are coming out of them. But it's one of the ones we've seen where it like disappears into malice, but we don't get to see what actually is coming out of it. So I'm wondering why they put that there. just seems to be a selective use of clips to try to make it seem like it's something that it's not. We see Zelda again in this new Zonai outfit. I think it's really cool. It looks really cool on her. She's got the 2 tears, one on each side under her eyes, and she is cupping her hands and looking down. She says, "I know why I am here. It's something only I can do." So she has the tear, and behind her hands you can see she has the Master Sword as well. So what do you think all this means? Another thing that I saw in the subreddit said that the tears have the same kanji symbol as the recall ability does. When you look at the top left of the gameplay demo, you can see when you're using the recall ability, it has the same symbol. So I wonder why. I wonder how those things are related. Here's another time where I've kept a few different clips together because there's like a statement being made and they kind of go together, and I'm just going to talk about the few different things that we saw there. So we see the dehydrated Ganon, the one that was found underground by Link and Zelda, is outside. It looks to be somewhere on the Great Plateau. He is shooting malice out of his body, and it looks like it's coming out of the chest wound where he was sealed. And it shoots this huge beam of malice up towards the sky. And it doesn't just go straight up into the sky, though. It hits a certain distance up, and then it kind of fans out like it's hit a round barrier, almost like a dome. Is this a barrier that made it so that normal people couldn't see these sky islands, and then when Ganon brings this power out, he destroys it, and that's what makes them descend, and all of the rubble start to fall to Hyrule? We also see some monsters that come down. First it's just moblins, bokos, and things like that, but then we have 3 Lionels appear from, like, jumping up down from the sky. And one of them looks more like one of the ones we've seen in Breath of the Wild, while the other 2 seem to be a little bit more of an advanced version. They're darker, and they have these huge moose antlers. I bet those will be something that we can get and put on weapons as well with the fuse ability. And then we see Malice attacking Link and the Master Sword. I think this is the first time it happens. I don't think that he gets super injured until Ganon gets out. It attacks the Master Sword. It attacks his arm. You see it start to hurt him. And then Ganon just wanted to immediately harm the hero as soon as he's getting out, because he knows him and the sword are the biggest threat against him. And then we see Ganon transforming. I think he's gained power somehow once he's like gone from dehydrated again, and you see his arms pop out of this like robe that he's wearing. He's wearing lots of cool rings. I like it. He wears lots of rings and gold chain adornments. Only his left arm is covered, and he has a huge gold necklace and a red tear on his forehead. He screams and kind of seems like he's gaining power. He's powering up the tear. During this whole segment, he says, "Do not look away. You witness a king's revival and the birth of his new world." And that, and also the part where he screams and we see his face and the tear powering up, it could be separate scenes. We don't know that these scenes are actually connected. After arguably the best scene in any video game trailer ever, we see Link on one of the sky islands running from some kind of massive monster in the sky. It's black and purple, and it's emerging from a goo, and it seems to be the same kind of goo we've seen falling, the like brown, black, like sludge stuff we've seen on a couple of these islands. It seems to be emerging from the ground, like even from the hard stone surfaces of the sky islands. I find that kind of strange. Next, we see another quick shot of Link and Tulin. I think this is before the previous one we just talked about, where they're diving towards the storm before they've even seen the monster yet. And Tulin says, "Okay, let's go." And I think that he has a tear on his bow, and you can kind of see it in this scene. And it's really interesting that the champions have a bunch of tears. I'm interested to see what we do with them and how do we give them to them, you know? Here's another really interesting one. So we see a woman who looks a lot like Zelda, looks a lot like her. wearing a very similar outfit. She has a very similar like tiara thing on her forehead that's supposed to mimic the eye on that dragon guy or the Zonai guy, whatever it is, on his head. She has a tear on a necklace just like Zelda did, and she's even using the yellow Hylian power that Zelda has. So who is this person? You know, what is this person doing? She has more tears under her eyes, the painted on one. She has 4 under each eye, whereas our Zelda has 1. She has much longer ears with lots of piercings on them. She has the same, maybe a little bit different yellow, but blonde hair, very long, longer than Zelda's used to be. Zelda's is short now, though. And then she's wearing the necklace, and she has darker skin as well, so she is a different race. She's Hylian, but she's got a darker skin color. She looks just like Zelda. So who is this woman? Is she the Zelda from 10,000 years ago? Is she another form that Zelda takes, like a powered up Hylia form, or is it Goddess Hylia herself? The next clip after this, you see her use this yellow Hylian power on a bunch of Moldugas in the desert. We saw the ground rumbling. We saw the precursor to that scene in a different, I believe it was trailer number 2, where you see the ground rumbling, and that's where the Moldugas were about to emerge. And this is happening in the Taobab grasslands. It's, I believe it's to the east of the desert. Another really cool scene is where we see Riju for the first time in this trailer. She is a little bit older. Her hair is a little bit shorter now. She looks a lot older. It's probably been a few years. She looks like she's not quite fully grown. She's not a full-grown woman, but she is, like, close. You know, she's probably, like, late teens. She's dual-wielding a Gerudo sword, and it seems that she has found her lightning power, and the kind that Urbosa had, where you can use the power of the lightning without needing the helmet. Because she isn't wearing the helmet, but she's able to draw like an area of effect around her of lightning and also bring lightning strikes down from the sky. And she also has a tear, and it's in her earring. Next, we see a shot of a bunch of different people standing in a group. From left to right, we see a mounted Hylian, a Goron, a Gerudo woman, a townsperson with a bucket on his head. We all love Buckethead, of course. We see another 2 townspeople, we see Link standing, and then another person kneeling down next to him. They're all looking on into the same direction. They're looking at something, but we don't see what they're looking at. What do you think they're looking at? Another cool thing you can notice here is that Link has a construct sword. We haven't really seen much of those yet in action, or him even holding them. We've seen like the parts in his inventory and during the gameplay, but we haven't seen him actually hold one that looks like that yet, so that's pretty cool too. This is another shot that got a lot of people talking. It shows Link and Sidon on one of the Sky Islands, and they are fighting against a construct, and that's the second person in the trailer that we see that's in the sky with Link. So this is leading a lot of us to believe that we will be able to fight with companions. Now, in Breath of the Wild, all we were able to do for that was during our Divine Beast battles, we would have one person, usually the descendant of a champion, was there with us. They would help us get to the Divine Beast, because there's usually an issue to getting to it. But once you got there, you were on your own. So I think for Tears of the Kingdom, they will probably have fleshed this out a little bit more and made it so that we can actually have companions during certain parts of the game where they'll join us in the sky. Mind-blowing. That is so awesome to me. There's also a voice during this part that says, "But you are not alone." And I think it's supposed to make you think that they're talking to Link, whoever it is. I'm not sure who exactly it is. It's a woman's voice. It could be that new character that looks a lot like Zelda. We hear Zelda say Link, and she sounds kind of concerned. And then we see a shot of Link, and he looks a bit scared. He's got the Master Sword sheath on his back, but the sword itself is missing. And I don't think that her saying Link and him reacting are from the same scene. I think these were also edited together to make it seem like it's something else. And then we see another shot where we see Riju, Tulin, and Sidon as they advance to the left towards an enemy, I'm assuming. Before, only only Riju had a crown on her head as the leader of Gerudo Town. But now Sidon also has a crown. He has the crown that King Dorephan has given his crown, or something has happened to him where Sidon had to take over as the king of the Zora. So what do you think happened to him? I'm worried for him. I hope something bad hasn't happened to him. I want him to still be alive. This is also the shot where you can see that Tulin has a tear on his bow, and you can also see the one on Sidon's hand. See a pretty cool shot of Link running towards a flame Gleeok with a very weird sword on his back. It is a white glowing crystal-like sword, and another cool thing about the shot is the Gleeok's eyes look very similar to the eyes that we saw in Breath of the Wild when you found the malice with the eyeballs. It's a very, very similar, the same colors. Is Gleeok going to be controlled by Ganondorf? And also, back to the sword, what could that possibly be made of? It's got to be a new material, right? A new material that was never in Breath of the Wild that we haven't seen before or seen yet. We see Zelda holding the Master Sword saying, "Link, you are our final hope." And there was a theory before about how maybe she is communicating, maybe she has the perfectly normal, fine, healthy sword, and then Link has the broken, busted sword, and they can use that over time periods to communicate with each other. But there's been new footage that shows that she actually has the broken Master Sword also, so both of them have the broken Master Sword at times. So is this communication theory across time true? Or does this mean that the only way we're going to be able to get the Master Sword is by finding Zelda? And in that case, we're probably going to have to find Zelda relatively early in the story for it to be worth it to give us the Master Sword for us to use again. After the Ouroboros logo for Tears of the Kingdom shows, we see Zelda looking up from the ground into an empty sky where there's no sky islands and saying, "Link, you must find me." She sounds very scared and desperate. She is on the surface. She's not in the sky. She is on this platform that we saw at the beginning when Link is skydiving down. And where Zelda's at, this platform is actually on the ground and it's not in the sky. So it's actually very close to the Great Plateau. It's on the Great Plateau near the Temple of Time. And you can use the background geography to prove that. I saw someone had gotten screenshots from Breath of the Wild to show that. But I think that this pretty much proves that Link and Zelda are trapped in different time periods, and that's what the distance is between them. They're both in Hyrule, but they're both in different Hyrules right now, and they have to try to find a way to get to each other and defeat Ganon with the help of the Zonai somehow. Super, super cool. I'm totally down for time travel. I know some people didn't like the time travel in Age of Calamity, but I thought it was all right, and I'm just very excited to see how it's implemented here. I think they usually do a pretty good job, and I'm excited to see how they're going to do it. At the end of this trailer, we also see a new mural that we haven't seen before. You know, like the stone carvings that I think we're probably going to find in the underground. It's of Ganondorf, and he's very large on the image. He has horns, and it looks like he's like motioning for his army of monsters that are pictured there to go forwards towards somebody to attack them. And we also see right next to Ganondorf, there is actually a small figure, looks to be Hylian. It looks like a normal person waving Ganondorf on to tell him it's okay and safe for them to go and attack. So I saw a theory on the Reddit that talked about this and said, is this somebody that's standing up to Ganon, or is this someone who's helping him? Is there a Hylian, maybe even a Hylian with power at that time, 10,000 years ago, that helped them, or even a Zonai, that helped him resurrect and be able to come and try to kill people? I thought that was a really interesting theory, that both in the war that Link lost, where he was like asleep for 100 years, and in the war 10,000 years ago, both times there may have been somebody who was sabotaging them from the inside. For Breath of the Wild, It was the mysterious fortune teller that we believe may be Astor, just based on the Age of Calamity stuff that happened, but may not be. We don't have a full answer on that one, but I just thought that was a really, really interesting theory about that mural to bring up here at the end, just because I thought it was so freaking cool. And that's it, folks. That's all I got. That's everything from trailer number 3, and we have got just under 3 weeks now. I believe today is 20 days until Tears of the Kingdom comes out. The hype has never been more real. I'm on the hype train. Choo choo. How about you? Thanks for watching if you watched this far. I just do this for fun. I really, really like this game. I like the series, and I really like the theorizing and the breaking down and the scrubbing through videos. So if you liked what I did here, please give me a like, give me a follow, subscribe to me here. I also have a daily countdown on TikTok if you're interested. My usernames are down below. I also have a Twitch if you want to follow me. I'll be streaming. Now that I'm done with this video, I'll be streaming a lot more on there. I'll be streaming Breath of the Wild up until the Tears of the Kingdom game comes out, and then I'll be streaming that for the foreseeable future. So hopefully if you liked this, you'll come join me later on. I love this community. I love talking to people. I'm so excited for this game. So hope you liked it, and we'll see you later for another one. Hope you have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.